guys, it's Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're building a little beach house for a single mom sim and a child. And this is just kind of the result of what happened when I was trying to build a little castle in Windenburg, but it wasn't going well and it didn't turn out really well and I had to bulldoze it several times. So I just come back to Sulani and build beach houses anytime that happens. So that's pretty much what this is. I was trying to build something else and it didn't work out, so I just came back to Sulani. I feel like Sulani is my comfort world. That's probably true for a lot of people. I feel like Sulani is just such a beautiful world. It's so easy to build in. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely where I'm the most comfortable building, and so I came back to this. But it's a little bit different than any beach house I've built before because I used a lot of the items from the Cats and Dogs pack, and I feel like the Brindleton Bay stuff, the cats and dogs stuff, it has a very coastal look about it because Brindleton Bay is on the coast and everything, but it's definitely a different look than the coastal stuff of Sulani, or Island Living, sorry. And so it's definitely got a different look, so you guys can let me know what you think, because maybe this doesn't belong in Sulani. Maybe it looks a little bit too, not suburban, but maybe a little bit suburban, I don't know. But anyway, maybe I should have put it in Brindleton Bay. But I feel like Brindleton Bay doesn't have that many beach lots, to be honest. I thought it would have more than it does, but it really only has that one lot that's like a 20 by 20 lot. And it's not even directly on the beach, but it's close enough that I feel like it counts as a beach house kind of lot. But a lot of the other lots are not. Like, you can see the ocean and everything, and you can tell you're in this coastal, world, but it's not a lot of beach lots to build on. So this one's in Sulani, but it does look a little bit different than the Sulani world. But anyway, this is a 30 by 20 lot. It's not really big, especially with the water. I feel like the waterfront lots make the lots feel a lot smaller, especially if you're not really building in the water. And with this build, I only built a pool in the water. It's not actually a pool, but I built this fence around some of the ocean to kind of make it look like a pool, because at this point I had already kind of decided this house was going to be for a single mom sim. And I feel like most of the time, if you had like a younger kid, you wouldn't want them just to go jump in the ocean and like swim off. And so I thought it would be a nice detail to kind of have a pool area or a closed-in area of this house where, the mom sim could be sitting on this back porch area and their kid could swim in this like shallow area. It seemed to make a little bit more sense to me, and it adds a little bit of more detail to the house as well. So I think that worked out pretty well. But this is pretty much the shell of the house I have finished now. But the only thing is that I just added this little extra area you can kind of see now, and I don't really like the way it looks, but I had to add it because after I got done building, I realized that there was no way for your Sims to access the balcony, and I really didn't like the fact that it kind of jutted out into the roof, and it makes the house seem a little bit less symmetrical. Maybe it seems a little bit off, I don't know. To me, it changed the roofing a little bit and it looks a little bit weirder, but I didn't really like the thoughts of having a balcony that the Sims couldn't get to, because that's just not really fun. So I did add it, and I think that it looks okay. It's not my favorite part of this build because of the way that you can see just a little bit of the roof on the side of it. When I turn the camera around, you guys will be able to see it, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really love it, but I think it looks okay. I tried to drag the side of the roof in to where you couldn't see it, and I liked the way that looked as far as the door goes, but then it was definitely not symmetrical at that point because the other side extends and then this side didn't. So yeah, I don't love that, but I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think. Now that I'm looking at it, it's not that bad. I built this last week, so it's been a few days that I haven't looked at it. And right now I feel a little bit better about it. But anyway, like I said, this house has a lot of accents from the Cats and Dogs pack. And so it looks a little bit more like a regular house and not as much like a beach house. But I did include some, stuff from the Island Living pack as well. Like, I just placed that shell. And what I really wanted to put on the front porch was a surfboard. And as far as I know, we don't have a surfboard available in The Sims. We have this one sign thing that came with the Island Living pack, but it's a sign and it has other features. So it does have a surfboard looking thing on it, but then it also has signpost and other stuff as well. So it looks like a sign, and it would look weird just if you were wanting to use a surfboard. But I feel like we should have gotten a surfboard with Island Living. I feel like it would be so cool. I would want one that kind of propped against the wall. So maybe an upright one, or like, you know those paintings that, I think they're base game, but they are actually in the wall hanging section because they grab onto the wall and they're like leaning onto the wall. Like, I think that would be nice if we had a surfboard that kind of did that. And I know that kind of seems weird, but there are a lot of times that I actually think when I'm building that I really wish that I had a surfboard, especially in Sulani. I feel like it makes so much sense. So I wish we had that, but we don't. And so I use these little flag things, these really colorful, I don't even actually know what they are. I'm going to call them a flag. But I use that to kind of add some color, and they kind of have a surfboard shape, but I mean, clearly they're not a surfboard. But I did use that just to add a little bit more colorful vibe to this build, because it does kind of look plain for Sulani. And then for the landscaping, I tried to choose some items that I normally don't use when I'm landscaping, because in Sulani, most of my builds have very similar landscaping, if not the exact same kind of landscaping. And so I tried to change it up a little bit with this one. I kind of wanted to do, for some reason while I was building this one, I wanted to use a bunch of items that I hadn't used, even on the interior. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for the landscaping, I did choose a few plants that I don't use very often. And one or two of them are from the Island Living pack. And then the flowers are from the Cats and Dogs pack, I think. And I've never used those flowers before, and I've never even noticed them in the pack. So I thought they were really cool, and they kind of had a very, I don't know, I felt like they fit the vibe of this house. I thought they looked nice, and they were really colorful and everything. And then I did use that one plant from the Cats and Dogs pack that I can't ever remember what it's called, but I've been using it nonstop lately. I just love it. I think it looks so cool. It might look really out of place for this world, but I had to include it. I don't know why. I just like it. So I did use that. But yeah, the landscaping is pretty simple other than that. I just used some stuff that I normally wouldn't use, but I still kind of layered it around like I would normally for not just a Sulani build, for pretty much any build. That's how I do it. So I did include a swing set as well, because this is a house, like I said, for a single mom and a kid. I also placed some of those snow shovels around from the Seasons pack, which is a little bit weird, but my thoughts were like, well, you could shovel sand with it as well. So yeah, I used some of those. But then for the inside of the house, I made this second floor area the kids' room, and I did include a little bathroom because I was going to try to delete like a little bit of the flooring and make it kind of a loft situation, but it wasn't working really easily. I don't know why I always have trouble with that. Sometimes I am doing something wrong, I guess, because the floor always comes back and then I get tired and frustrated, and so I quit that. But this is a very colorful kids room for me. I tried to use some of the items I don't normally use, and I tried to use some of the really colorful items. And especially those curtains from the Cats and Dogs pack, I feel like those are so bright and loud, and they're really pretty, but it's just not normally how I would build. But I used them anyway. I did use one of the plainer swatches, but I used it because, like I said, for some reason this day that I was building this, I just kind of wanted to try some new things and use some items that I wouldn't normally use, and, you know, just change it up a little bit, because I do tend to stick with really neutral colors, I think, in my build. But anyway, that second floor area is the kids' room, and I did use a ladder for this build mainly because it's a very small house, but also just because I wasn't happy with any of the ways that the stairs were fitting when I tried to place stairs. But also, when you guys may have noticed when I was on the second floor, I also placed a dog bed up there, because I was building this in my mind for a single mom, a child sim, and a dog, because I've been doing a lot of cat builds lately, or in my regular house builds I put a bunch of cat objects, and I haven't really done anything specifically with a dog in mind since the very first build I did in Brindleton Bay. So I wanted to kind of have in my mind, this family has a dog, so I put a dog bed upstairs. And it wasn't until I was playtesting this build that I realized that I don't think there's any way for the dog to get up there, because I don't think that dogs can climb ladders in The Sims. But yeah, I deleted that. I have no idea what I was thinking with that. But this first floor area has a bathroom, and then it's all kind of like a studio space. It's got a single bed. I didn't have room for a double bed. I did try to place one, but I couldn't figure out the kitchen when I had the double bed. So I changed it to a single bed, And yeah, it's very much like a studio space, so it's kind of small and casual, but like I said, that's who I was building it for, was just one single mom sim and a child, and so I felt like the single bed works. But that's pretty much it for this build. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I will talk to you guys soon with another speed build, but until then, I hope you all have a great week and we will talk soon.